Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode on my channel. I had a suggestion from one of my viewers, one of my loyal and faithful viewers, obviously, to do a video about a lot of the watches that I've had. So I figured, why not give that a go? I've been through quite a journey over the last, let's say, about 7-ish years or so, and I've had a lot of different watches, and the reason really being is because, I went on this journey to kind of find out what I wanted, and, what I liked and what I didn't like, and, I really think that I ended up with a few watches that I love a lot. So, without further ado, let's get into this list a little bit here. So, in terms of Omega, a couple of watches that I've had are the Constellation, as well as, of course, the Seamaster, which you guys are very familiar with. Constellation, I had quite a few. I had quartz and I had automatic, and that one got me into quite a bit of trouble. Unfortunately, I remember I had left Constellation in my car when I went to go play golf in the summertime, and at that time it was like over 100+ degrees in the car, and I remember that watch was running really good before I did that, and then once I did it, it just started running really, really slow and really bad. So, but yeah, the Seamaster, absolutely fantastic. Obviously, I will say the Hamilton. I've had two main models, the Viewmatic and the Hamilton Day Date. I have two issues with Hamilton. The first one being that the anti-reflective coating on it is just really terrible. Meaning that, like let's say, like you're going into like different light sources or something like that, and you're trying to look at the watch from different angles, and like the light hits it and things like that. You see more of like a light than you do like the dial. Like it's like a reflection. So it's not so great. The other thing too that I learned with the Day Date was that the date windows are a little bit small on those, at least just in my opinion. It's the day window is okay, but it's just Hamilton's a good solid brand. I'm not going to knock it. I just wish that they would kind of clean up those two things. The other thing that's a little bit troublesome with me, I guess, I'll say, is they do have kind of thin hands sometimes, so that I'm not the biggest fan of that. Sometimes they don't contrast enough with the dial. The other brand that I've had is Mito. So I've had the all dial, the Commander, the Great Wall, and the Multi-Fort. And one of my favorite watches from Mito that I had was the I think it was like the two. It was the anniversary watch with the Coliseum on it. It was they don't make it anymore, but it was a black dial with like orange accents or something like that. And I don't know. There's just the old dial watch is really cool because everything's like 3D on the dial, so everything's kind of like raised a little bit. And then, if you look at it from the side, like if you're holding it up like this, and then you just like look into it, it looks like the Coliseum, which is actually really cool. So, yeah, Mito was probably one of my favorite brands. I probably would have stuck with Mito. The other one that I've had also, I was just thinking about, is the Ocean Star. Slightly cheapish watch from Mito. But in general, it's a good brand. I've had a lot of Mitos and sold a lot of them. Certina is another brand that I've had. This is an interesting one. I've had the DS2, the DA1, the Day Date. pretty darn good watches, I gotta say. Again, it really didn't. They didn't quite speak to me as much as other watches would have otherwise. So, I did let those ones go, but it was nice to try that brand. That was for sure. And, again, quartz automatic. I think they have like a 1/1000th of a second or something like that chronograph. I mean, listen, I know like Tag Heuer has that, but Certina also has fantastic pieces. Next brand that I've had, Tissot. This one, it's an interesting brand. I know a lot of people love my review of the manual wind petite seconds. Kind of got a little crap for it too, with the water resistance. Let me just clarify for a second. Watches that are 5 ATM, guys, I don't think you realize it. Even if there's a little bit more pressure put on it going into water, not even a question. There's no issue. I mean, listen, I would gladly, take any one of your guys' watches out there, even if a crown is not necessarily screwed down, but it's 5 ATM, I would just make sure that the crown, let's just say it is push-pull, not screw down. I would make sure it's pushed into the case first, of course. I would personally take it on a shallow dive, okay? It doesn't have to be like a 100-meter dive. Most people don't go down 100 meters. Most people go down like 30 meters, if that. I'm saying if that, and I would absolutely take that snorkeling. And if the watch got ruined, I would personally take money out of my pocket to buy a brand new one. That's how confident I feel. But anyways, going a little off topic. So I've had the Tissot Day Date. I've had the Couturier, the Heritage Petite Seconds. Had a lot of Tissot watches, including one that I bought on my honeymoon, but, of course sold. It was a quartz. It was a nice piece. It was just a simple blue dial. I think it was like one of the PR 100s or something like that. But again, nice watches. Almost, again, it reminds me a lot of the watches that came before with like the Hamilton Mito Certina, excuse me, just didn't speak to me the way that I wanted them to. So just never really felt that connection with them, unfortunately. But nice pieces. Rado was the first automatic brand of watch I've ever had. This one also has got me into a lot of trouble. Actually, there's one that I'm thinking. Okay, I did put that on there. Good. We'll get to that. It's going to be a little bit of a long video, so just, kind of bear with me a little bit. So, the Rado. I've had the Seahorse, the Centric Skeleton, and the D-Star. The watches are, halfway decent. I'm not the, it's kind of like Tissot and Certina, a lot of watches from the Swatch group. Not the biggest fan that it's sometimes kind of hard to open them and regulate them yourself, like to get them to run where you want them to. Again, they're good watches and things like that. I just have a little bit of a problem with watches running on the slower side. I need them to run on the faster side. It's actually kind of like one of my pet peeves with watches. The Centric Skeleton, I remember, ran slower. It just pissed me off. And then the Seahorse, I remember, I had problems with. And, the D-Star was nice, but it just wasn't what I was quite looking for to watch. Next brand that I've had is Longines. I know it's a brand a lot of people are familiar with. Had the Hydro Conquest. I actually remember, I believe it was the quartz version of that. I can't remember where I got it from, but the watch was just like very buggy. Like it didn't work the right way at all. I had to request a return for it. Really didn't run the right way at all. Things got like jammed up. Wasn't so good. It was probably like a refurbished one or something like that. The other brand I've had is Armani Exchange. I just don't remember which model it was. It doesn't matter. It's a fashion brand. I don't really care. Tag Heuer, very briefly, I had the Caliber 5 day date. Had that for a little while and then just, ended up returning that. For Bulova, I've had the Marine Star. It's a nice watch. It was black with like a rose gold plating on it with a black rubber band. Nice watch. You know, Bulva's a watch. Actually, they just came out with the Frank Sinatra collection, which looks pretty cool and stuff like that. Again, nice watch. Just didn't quite speak to me. Their automatics, I feel like, are kind of whatever. Next watch that I've had is the Citizen Eco Drive. It's very popular amongst a lot of people. Fantastic, fantastic watch. I'm just personally not a fan of the quartz, but the solar is slightly different. I used to sell those in one of the stores that I used to work in, and what's great about the Citizen Eco Drives is that now the trick to them is that you have to keep them exposed to light at almost all times during the day. So let's say you're not even wearing it. A lot of people like keep them in drawers and stuff. You can't do that. What you need to do is you actually need to keep it fully charged almost all the time as much as you can. Like even if you leave it, in your room, you open up the windows during the day to let some light in. Just keep that battery fully charged. If it ever does stop on you and then you expose it to light for about 72 hours and still doesn't work, then you do need to, you certainly do have a little bit of a problem. You need to take it in for servicing. But again, they're great watches. I can't, the other one that I've had was the radio controlled one with the gold tones. It was like the date, chronograph, everything. Again, absolutely fantastic watch. Can't knock it. It was gold plated. I wasn't crazy about it. And the fact that it's Eco Drive wasn't bad. Constantly exposed to light. It'll keep running for decades. Let's just say. Again, I just prefer an automatic, of course, watch. Next one that I've had is the Frederic Constant, the Classics Automatic. This was from back years ago. I remember I got one from eBay. It was slightly scuffed up. I still think it was at a pretty good price. I remember I resold it and got very close to maybe $50 off from where I bought it from. So that's actually not terrible. So, you get these things pre-owned. You obviously don't take as much of a hit as if you get them brand new. I had that watch for a little while. I remember I liked it. I just gravitated away from the dressy pieces and more towards the divers pieces. So that's why I got rid of that one. The Gucci G Timeless. Now, I will say this one, right? It was a quartz watch, and I remember it was actually my favorite quartz watch that I've ever had. I think it was around 39, 38 millimeters. It was under 40, I believe. Great piece. Again, I had that one for a while, and I absolutely loved it. And then something in my head tripped off, and I'm like, I need to have an automatic watch. So that one kind of got kicked to the curb a little regrettably. I think I remember it was like 5 ATM. Again, going back to this argument, I could do almost anything in that watch that I really wanted to. It was never going to be a problem. Next watch that I had was a Puma. It was a quartz watch. It had some diamonds around it. It was back years ago. Remember, I sold it to a former coworker of mine along with something else. He really loved it and wanted it, so I sold it to him for like $50. I don't even know. Next one that I currently own, besides the Omega Seamaster, I held on to it, by the way, is the Seiko. Of course, it's a fan favorite amongst a lot of people. I have the Seiko Monster currently, which I wear on Sundays to like cut the grass, to do like more physical activities. And I do actually also wear it to play golf in a big golf fan for all of you golfers out there. And by the way, I love the watch. It's a day date. It's non hand winding, not hacking. Yeah, I literally have to like shake it up like this to get it moving. Um, but yeah, it's just that's like I call it the zombie apocalypse watch. If I mean, the accuracy on it is terrible a day. I think it's like plus 35 or something like that. So you have to reset it like once every 1 or 2 days if you want it to be like about a minute off or whatever. But what a durable watch that is. It's unbelievable. Super comfortable on the wrist too, especially with the mesh bands on these, right? The other one that I've had is the Presage. And one of my biggest pet peeves with it, I just got rid of immediately, was the date. The date on it has like a little hand on it that goes around. It's like a small date wheel. It's too small. I can't even read it, so that one got kicked to the curb. Pulsar. I remember I had the quartz chronograph. I remember I got that for I think like high school graduation or something like that. I was really not into watches then, but I still ended up getting that watch. I remember I wore it for a while. It was like a blue and red one. I would have to search for it. It was back years ago. But very very nice watch. For a high school graduation, that is. But in general, I don't knock on people's watches. The next one is probably my favorite. It's my everyday, as you guys probably already know here. I'm trying to get that like in view, whatever it is. Kind of can, kind of can't. Orient. I can't say enough about this brand. I mean, they have a lot of fantastic watches. They're better than some Swiss watches out there, to be honest with you. I remember I had a quartz calendar watch, and of course I have the Kamasu, which is my literally everyday watch. Orient's a brand that I've experimented with a lot. I had the Kamasu a few times, and every single time that I sold it, I bought it back, and it's for a good reason. I just love having the, I really love having the, the diver, the day date. But also the blue is fantastic with it. It's just a great everyday piece. I mean, it's got 200 meters water resistance. Even if at 50 meters, I really wouldn't care. So easy to read, so easy to set. I regulated it myself. It's very easy to open up the case back, which is right over here. You just screw that right off. And there's a little screw that you regulate it with. I got this down to about, I think 3 to like 4 seconds a day or something. I put my own like mesh band on. It's so thin now. The watch is just unbelievable. So yeah, I can't go on enough about Orient. So right now I have the Omega Seamaster, which I hung on to, and I wear that one on the weekends. The Orient's good for the week, so that way I can tell the day and the date. On the weekends, I don't care about the day. I know it's a little weird. Next one I've had, this is a little embarrassing, but I'm going to go into it anyways, is the Invicta. I had the Venom, I had the Speedway Chronograph. Speedway Chronograph, just to let you guys know, it's actually kind of cool. It's a quartz piece, but it is like a Paul Newman Rolex Daytona, or just a Rolex Daytona kind of thing. If you guys have a minute, go take a look at it. It's actually really cool. The Venom is ridiculously huge, and I'm just not going to go into it, and that's about it for that one. Next brand I've had is Rolex, and I had the Datejust, Oyster Perpetual Datejust for a while. I had 36 millimeter. It was 2002, I think, with like a Y serial number, something like that. Nice piece. Again, a diver speaks more to me. Rolex, it's like a perfect sports watch. Definition of a sports watch to me is one that is water resistant to, let's say, 10 ATM, which is 100 meters. Rolex is the first brand to create a waterproof, water resistant case that they ever brought to market. So, great watch, absolutely iconic. I definitely prefer the Orient Kamasu that I have on my wrist, and I certainly prefer the Omega Seamaster over the Rolex. So that's that. Next one, they just brought back recently, which I happen to love. I will say this, is that if it had the day and the date in it, I would probably just own that watch instead of the Orient. But watch that I'm talking about is the Chronomat. It's an absolutely fantastic piece. Probably the second most favorite watch that I owned. Happened to love it. I really did. I had the one on the new bracelet, the bullet bracelet, which just came out. If they end up putting the day and the date in that, which I doubt they ever will, that would be my go-to. I would literally probably even sell my Seamaster and go for the Breitling. Great pieces, can't complain about them. They don't hold tremendous value like you think that they would, though. But I did end up selling that. Next brand is probably one most of you guys have not heard of, and that's Vanceur. It's spelled Vanceur. It's the Royal Castle. You guys can go and look it up. Happen to like the watch. Just wasn't the biggest fan on the 36mm case size. Maybe that's the reason why I got rid of the Rolex Datejust. Nice piece. It wasn't in production for, I think it was maybe for like 5 or 10 years. One of my buddies got me into it. And I happen to like it a lot. Like I said, it was just small, the 36 millimeters. And again, I just prefer the diver. I think that that's gold plated also. So if it got scratched up, it would not have been good. Still a nice piece. I remember I had that a couple times. Bought it, sold it, bought it, sold it. I had the automatic and the quartz version. But take a look at them online. Really interesting history. Next one I've had, JLC, Jaeger LeCoultre. For those of you out there, some people pronounce it Jaeger LeCoultre. I don't. I pronounce it Jaeger LeCoultre. I had the Herion Chrono Quartz. I spell that Heraion. Chrono Quartz. Again, very small watch. Very cool, though. It had chronograph pump pushers. What I mean by pump pushers, when you press it, takes just an extra second to come up. It's like air compression almost with it. Very nice piece. Small on the wrist, though. It was like a classic size. I think it was around 35, 36. I think it was certainly smaller than 38 millimeters. Nice piece. Wanted to try out. Happened to like it. It was a chronograph, but again, small dial, a little bit hard to read. So I did get rid of that. The other one that's on most people's list usually for owning is the Movado museum watch, of course. And I also had, if you Google this one, the Movado tungsten watch, both with black dials. Both nice pieces. Two issues that I have, they're great dress pieces, but quartz number one, number two, no seconds hands with those, and there's no minute track or anything. They're a much cheaper and not nearly as good version of like an H. Moser NC. If you guys have never seen those, go check them out. Movado's not nearly what H. Moser NC is, but still, kind of cool watches. Next one that I had this a couple times, just bought it recently and then resold it again, is the Rougeois Skeleton Tattoo Watch, spelled Rouigous. So go check those out. They're actually very cool watches. I decided to go with dive watches personally. But still, if you're looking for a skeleton watch, they're a little bit on the larger side, around 44, 45 millimeters, but they're also hand wind, which is really cool. So go check that one out. TW Steel. I think it's like the cousin of Vancure, which I just spoke about a few minutes ago. Just had the triple calendar. I think it's still available for sale on eBay, although you will take a bath on that. So the triple calendar, what do I mean by that? It had the day, had the date, and it had the month. on it. It also had a turn, like a dive bezel on it. I think it was water resistant to like 200 meters or something like that. Just a huge watch. It was like 44, 45 millimeters and like 15 millimeters thick. It came on a white rubber band. Um, just, just a little too big for me. Although I will say it was accurate as hell. That was accurate to within, I think, like a couple of seconds a day, which was unbelievable. And that's not even considered a Swiss made watch. Um, the next one that I had, this one also got me into a little bit of trouble. It's vintage, and I remember I took it in for servicing and still never ran quite right. Although, again, it was a watch from the 70s. So it was the Baum and Mercier Riviera. Again, another very small watch. It was around 35, 36 millimeters. Um, again, just kind of gravitated off the dress watches. This was back years ago. Remember, my dad used to have a beautiful Baum Mercier, so I remember I ended up getting that kind of like, you know, because he used to have one, but it just wasn't. It was the one that had Roman numerals on the dial and the date, I remember, with kind of a small crown, but it just wasn't quite the way. And also like an octagonal bezel. Next one that I've had, I can't remember exactly which one it was, but Louis Erard, Louis. If you guys haven't seen them, go take a look there. Pretty cool watches. There's a lot of different ones that they've had. Next one that I had is the Corum Reserve de Marche. It's reference number 973.201.20. That's actually a very cool kind of watch. I remember, I think there was maybe like no seconds hand, so I remember like ended up getting rid of it. But let me tell you something, very very cool watch if you can find them now for the right price. Remember I did an exchange for it at Tornell. Very cool piece, something a little different. It had the time, the date, and I believe it was a power reserve, and that was it. But very very kind of cool, different kind of watch. Next one that I had that I never really wore, I just bought it and then actually sold it, and actually one of the only watches I made money on. The Swatch System 51 Hodinkee 1986. Probably should have held on to that one, but I didn't. I remember by the way, if you guys ever get a watch through Hodinkee or ever have the opportunity to, and you get it, snag it up, and usually they're like limited editions, you will actually make money on it. Literally, it's crazy. I just remember I never would have worn that watch, so I just sold it or whatever it was. Should have kept it as an investment, but it's not really like an investment, but whatever. Next brand I've had just about as much of experience as with like Orient is Oris. I've had the Oris Aquas, Atelier, BC4 Chronograph, Arctics. I've had almost every single line with them. They're nice watches. I have nothing against them. For some reason, it just I never quite liked the way it fit personally on my wrist. Although the Oris Aquas Clean Ocean was probably one of my favorite ones that I had. Very good overall brand and things like that. It was a watch that I feel like maybe it never sat quite right on my wrist, and I just never quite connected with it the way that I wanted it to. But still a great brand and stuff. I know they're coming out with a lot of like limited editions and a lot of different things like that. The next one, I'm gonna commend this brand because they're a great brand. Is Christopher Ward. I have the C60 Trident Pro 600 meters and the C60 Elite Titanium, which I just sold recently. I got the C60 Elite Titanium because it reminded me of the Omega James Bond watch a little bit that just came out. And the C60 Trident Pro was great. 600 meter was fantastic. I remember I had the 43 millimeter version, so slightly larger on my wrist. and it just kept knocking into my the crown kept knocking into me. It was just a little uncomfortable, but they are super accurate watches. They have all different kinds of watches and stuff like that. They've been around for a little while, and they're pretty damn nice. I would say if if you have a chance, go check them out. The only problem is that you can't find them for like I mean, I guess you can find them on the premium market, but if you're looking for like their newer watches and stuff like that, the only place to get them really is on their website. And you have to pay like on the they don't hold value at all. Just to let you guys know, you take like a little bit of a bath on them. Next one I had was the Tudor Glamour Day Date and the Heritage Black Base Steel. The Heritage Black Base Steel I didn't like because I had the 60 click bezel instead of the 120 click bezel. I may have held on to that. Let me tell you guys this. Tudor makes some their in-house movements, the MT612 something whatever. They are super accurate to maybe like a couple seconds a day. They're absolutely unbelievable. Of course, it's the sister brand or the cousin brand, whatever you want to consider it, of Rolex. The Tudor Glamour Day Date, I had it for a few days. My biggest problem with it was, again, slightly smaller than I would have liked. This goes back to the Tissot. Slightly smaller than I would have liked. Date window. A little hard to read. As you get older, it's a little hard to read. And again, with the Orient, it's like literally the perfect size. Let me just take this off because I just love it so much, just so I can demonstrate to you guys. This may be slightly backwards. Probably is. Yep, it is. But anyways, you guys kind of get the idea with that. All right, so the last brand that I've had, at least that I can remember, I'm just going to put this one back on my wrist. These mesh bracelets are so easy to operate. Is Raymond Weil, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I have the Maestro Moonphase and the Freelancer Skeleton. Happen to love the Freelancer Skeleton. It was actually the silver on the bracelet. It was really nice. I just didn't like the fact that it didn't have a date. It's a skeleton, so it's kind of hard to have it. And the minute hand didn't go all the way out to the minute track. Again, one of my pet peeves. The Maestro Moonphase was nice. It was just, I don't know. There was just something about it that just didn't speak to me the right way. So, yeah. But those are all the different watches that I've had. Wow, 32-minute video. So I think it's around 32, but let's do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33 different brands. And I would say I've had a good 50 to 100 watches between all the different brands. So, as you guys already know, I have my Seiko Orange Monster, which I got from my dad. I have the Orient Kamasu. Sorry, I keep showing it off, but I love it. And I do have the Omega Seamaster, the 2018 ceramic, which I wear on weekends, which is a very, very, very nice piece. I may sell that down the road. I don't know. I try to sell it. There was really never a buyer for it, so I just kind of was like, I'm going to take it off the market. But anyways, guys, that is my watch journey story. Actually, one of the things I plan on doing, which I look forward to, let's check that one, is I plan on doing the on Hodinky.com. There's a thing where you can submit like your watch story and be featured on their site. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm debating between the Orient Kamasu and the Omega Seamaster, but I think I may do the Omega Seamaster for a few different reasons, but you guys will have to stay tuned to Hodinky to see if I ever get featured on that. Maybe I'll do a little video to show you guys that. But anyways, so I've spent probably close to $20,000 or so on all these watches. Some higher end, some lower end, some in between and stuff like that. And of course, I have my Fitbit stuff, which you guys know. Use it to track my steps and get my text messages, emails, and I also can tell the time in the middle of the night because I do wear the Orient to sleep, but I can't read this in the middle of the night. I mean, you can, but the loom is a little weak. But anyways, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. Thank you again to the viewer who recommended that I do this. I did this one day on my phone, but it got separated into like 3 or 4 different videos, which was annoying. So I figured, let me scrap it and I'll redo it. So that's that. I will. I don't know what my next video is. We'll figure it out. We'll see. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed the making of this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.